Hi there, it's Brian Sebastian. Movie Reviews and More, the Women's Broadcast TV Network, which is now a worldwide TV network, WomenOnTV.tv, and I2247 out of Franklin, Tennessee. So I'm calling this part two of When We March. People who marched in the Connecticut Corps going to Santa Clara Vanguard, and the story that what it took to get them to go from Connecticut to Northern California, and then what they're doing now. So we had Miguel on the last show, so he's coming back. We're doing this during the week, so we're playing with everybody's schedule, which is what makes it interesting and fun. And then it was part one was so interesting, like we got to have a part two now. So lose anybody because we really don't know if we're going to be here the next day, right, fellas?
True.
So with this, Joey, let's start with you. So when we last left off in part one, you were telling the story of how you got from Connecticut through Vinnie's help. You guys have been friends for a while. How many years have you guys been friends for?
Since 1976.
Yeah.
And then, Vinnie tells the story of how he's a mallet player. He's out in California. You're in Connecticut. And all of a sudden, you get on the plane the next day and go to Northern California, and you're in with Vanguard just like that, like Flint. Tell that story to what you're doing and when you marched and how you marched, how you kind of aged out in 81.
So yeah, I was 18 at the time. So I really had to get my parents' blessing. I was living in their house. I was going to school and working, and I was able to make it work, thankfully. And Vanguard was great. They were very flexible about me attending camps because I was going to school back in Connecticut. Most kids go away to school and come home for the summer. I would come home for school and go away for the summer. So during the winter, I would go out for camps occasionally, February and April usually. And I'd get my music. Ralph and Fred were great about sending my music, and I could learn it ahead of time. I was a music education major, so I was playing every day. So they weren't concerned about keeping my chops up and all. So it was great, and I did that for 4 years. I aged out in '82, and then I had been teaching the cadets, the Garfield cadets. George Hopkins I met at a party one night. It was actually a Skylarks Winter Guard party. He was dating Sue Urban. I don't know if Vinnie, do you remember Sue Urban? What a great girl she was.
No,
anyhow. So George was dating Sue, and Sue says to George, you gotta hire Joey. So George had just become the director of the Garfield cadets, and I actually did a couple of camps with them in the winter or spring of '82, winter of '81, spring of '82, before I went back out to Vanguard for my last year. And that's kind of funny because the cadets actually beat us, I think, in Huntington, West Virginia, just before DCIs. And so that was kind of a weird feeling. But after I aged out in 1983, George actually hired Tom Hannum to do the drum line. And he told Tommy, you can hire anybody you want, except I got this guy Joey that I've already hired. So, work with him. So we worked together. And I went on tour with the cadets in '83, and
that was the first year. Was that the first year that they won?
Yes, yeah, that was the first of 3 in a row. Yeah, and
so wait a minute, I got to stop you there. So here's the thing: you win DCI in the junior corps in '81.
Yes.
In the senior corps in '81. You win the
true.
Following year for the first time the cadets. No one has done that, Joey. I got to mention that fact.
So I'm sure there's a bunch of Blue Devils who would argue with you, but yeah,
No. But they didn't march in the senior corps, though. No, they didn't do what you were doing, going from Connecticut to California to Connecticut. No, they don't have to claim of fame.
It was a very good decade. I'll tell you, the '80s were very good to me. I'm not complaining at all.
That's amazing because I was reading George's post. George was on our first show when I was testing everything out 5 years ago. And this is before the cadets and the Devils reality show. Because I was asking them, would you ever do this? And I said, I didn't know this was going to happen. I knew I had heard rumors. And I go, well, I think DJ, The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, wants to do something. But it's really Hakeem Garcia. they want to do something, but I don't think it's the right channel because, yeah, we've had discussions about that at that point. And I go, this would be actually kind of fun. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I asked DJ about it later, and that's how it came to fruition. And then so for me, I always wanted to have that thing, and I've been telling Vinny this, I always wanted to be the announcer. For whatever reason, I just wanted to be the announcer. I thought the announcer back in the early 70s, you know, now off the line was just really cool. That's where my thinking was, that made sense.
Yeah. Right.
About announcing the name of that corps and that big, huge Raw. Because we were talking about the Muchachos a little bit in the earlier things. You talk about from Hawthorne, New Jersey, the Muchachos, and you hear this roar from 1974 in DCI finals. That to me was the whole thing. But with where you were going on as the 80s were very, very good to you with the cadets, and then we get into Vinny's story.
Go ahead, Vin.
What's that now?
Oh, Joey, I was going to have you finish your story, then I'm going to get into Vinny.
So, all right. So, yeah. So life's been good to me, but the 80s were great, In 1983, I was on tour with the cadets. They really had very little money and not enough to sustain all of us. So I was lucky enough to actually get hired by the Bridgeport Police Department, the town I'm from. My father was a lifelong career Bridgeport police officer, and he had convinced me to take the test 2 years prior. And I didn't have any plans on being a police officer. Like I said, I was a music education major. I was going to be a band director. I was going to be a drum corps teacher. I was going to be the next Fred Sanford, Ralph Hardiman, you name it. But I needed money. So I went home and I went on the Bridgeport Police Department thinking that, I would stay on until September, until the next semester of school started. And then I would use that money that I earned to go back to school. And I ended up doing 33 years as a member of the Bridgeport Police Department, served in every rank, and retired as police chief after 7.5 years of being chief just a few years back. So, yeah, life's been good.
Congratulations, Joey. My hat goes off to you because, again, I have to always remind people, Drum and Bugle Corps came out of the military. We got our bearings from hard ass and being taught discipline a different way. So that surprised me because it's usually the other way coming out from that, being an instructor. So again, I'm thinking of your 81 year with Vanguard, with the senior corps, you go on to 82 cadets, and then the following year or 2 years later, you go into the police force. That kind of makes sense, really.
Yeah, it was quite a transition. Like I say, life is what happens to you while you're making plans. But life's been good. Life's been good. Not complaining at all.
So Vinny, since we're in part 2 and you helped put all this together, story of just you going from California to Vanguard, and then what happens to you after that, after 81?
After 80, we lost the rest of the bass drum line. No, we had one guy left. And no, two. We had two. We lost two. I aged out. So they asked me to instruct. My mom had passed away. So I had a lot of business I had to come back to Connecticut for. And I had to leave. And the guy that ended up teaching the bass line for 35 years, who's in the Santa Clara Hall of Fame, his name was Kent Cater, who I played with in '79. He went on to teach the bass drum line for 35 or 37 years after that.
Wow.
Yeah. He's
wow. I didn't know someone could teach a bass line that long in one course. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I knew that. Because here's the thing. So when Vanguard came down, I moved to California, Southern California in '87. So I made it a point, I would always see, once you guys came down from the Northern tour to go to Southern California, you might do like the Rose Bowl, you did the Riverside show, and now they do like the Vista show in San Diego. They had 5 or 7 shows then. Now they cut it back to like 3. This year, obviously, we had none. But I would always make sure I would go up and pay homage to this instructor, so the people I think that march with that. I would always say hi. And if you probably look at anybody who took video in the Southern, there's this lonely little black guy roaming around just that's me saying hi and with my mouth hanging out saying, oh my God, I wish I could have marched. I would have taken the symbol line. Last year I took a great symbol, of them, just video of the symbol line, because again, it's an honor to be in that presence of that. It's just that awe, especially as you guys know what it's like when you go town to town and people come out and see you and their mouths are hanging to the ground and what you guys are performing. That's still me at that point. And like I said, it's an honor to talk to you guys. My hat goes off to you guys, what you've done in your career, where you've gone. But a lot of people, again, don't know the stories of what happened afterwards, which is just as important because of the discipline that we got. Being around Stanford, around Hardeman. Ralph's coming on pretty soon. That'll be interesting to connect you guys with that pretty soon.
Yeah.
and a Gail Warrior, who I always looked up with because you guys may not have known. This wasn't always Movie Reviews and More. This was the Santa Clara emblem that I got permission to use at one point. My first logo was a Vanguard shield.
Wow.
Gave me permission. I forgot who gave me permission to use it, but I asked for it. I said, would it be okay if I had a business card to meet up? And he goes, sure, Brian, it's okay. And I said, okay, you have no idea what I'm going to do with it. They gave me the right. I ran with it for many years. And then I had a woman's point of view and they changed it around. But that's how I started it,
Wow.
I'm always
funny
to you guys. I watched you guys. I would come up and say hi. I was that kid in strange towns that would follow Vanguard around. I was almost like I was a stalker. No matter where we were going across country, that was me. And I was like, wow, where are they rehearsing? So I could never get to rehearsals because a lot of times the rehearsals, you guys were off out of like 30 miles out someplace and it was kind of secret at that point. Where's Vanguard? No one knows. It was like a hit, where they're rehearsing. And I always thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. It's funny because you say you ended up in Walnut Creek, and my first stop in California was Walnut Creek as well. I used to commute. That's Blue Devil country. I used to commute from Walnut Creek to Santa Clara on the BART for probably my first 2 months in the Corps. So when I was walking downtown in Walnut Creek, all I saw was Blue Devils jackets. So that was was there a rivalry at that point, or did you guys get along? Of course there was a rivalry. Well, the thing about that is the corps are so close together, and from the first day of competition, you have somebody to relate to as far as how good you're going to be or how good they're going to be, because you're seeing them right off the bat. It's like the Emerald Cadets and the Surfers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's basically the same thing. So nobody, as far as I'm concerned, there was really no animosity as far as hatred or anything like that. It was a whole different mindset out west than it kind of was out east. Out east, you hear stories of, Boston Crusaders and this corps and that corps against each other, but I never got that in out west. We were never rivals. We were rivals competition-wise, but that was it.
Joe, you feel the same way?
Yeah, I can remember some great parties where the Blue Devils and Vanguard were together, and yeah, I agree with Vinnie. I think it was healthy competition, and I think we were so different too. They were trying to do something completely different than what Vanguard was trying to pull off, and they both have their very high standards of excellence. And don't forget, a lot of these Blue Devil guys that lasted forever came from Santa Clara, and right. helped build the Blue Devils into the organization that they are. So there's almost that familial thing. You talk about the neighborhood drum corps. All these guys, they all knew each other. They all grew up together. And so I think that bled down into the membership too. Yes, we absolutely all got along. It was a healthy, competitive relationship.
And that's true. You do have to bring that out. I forgot about that until you just said that. A lot of them from Vanguard did go and teach Blue Devils, and then they went cross country. But it's almost like you think of Pete Emmons and whoever else it was coming from the Troopers, if that made sense. You had that,
right.
that tradition, and in those earlier years, you think about that. Talk about the uniforms, the difference of the wearing the uniforms. I had always heard the drummers always liked the green. What was that about? Did you guys hear that, the stories like that too?
Well, that's the only uniform I ever wore was green. I think Joey got to wear red, but 77, 78, and 79 and 80, the drum line were opposite of the horn line. And I marched 79 and 80, so I only wore green with a red stripe. Joey's wore both.
Oh, Joey, so you're always separated. You're in a whole class by yourself, aren't you?
So yeah, interesting story. In '81, we came out with red tunics with white stripes, and we were getting killed in marching maneuvering early in the year. So the moms went out and made these false fronts for the red tunics with green stripes, and they used this newfangled stuff called Velcro to hold things on the shoulder straps and down by the waist. And so we would wear these false fronts over the tunics until the timing judge set off his gun, and then we were no longer judged for execution in M&M. And as an effect, we took the front off, and then we ended up with the white stripe, and we got extra GE points for that. But really, I think they were just doing it to protect our M&M scores during the competitive part of the show.
Yeah, but
and then
tricks of the trade, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What was it like for you guys when you're playing Send in the Clowns? What's that like for you guys? And when you hear it today?
To me, to this day, it always has a special place in my heart. Anybody that marched at Santa Clara, that song is very special.
Yeah, I agree. It moves me in a way that no other song really does move me. I was lucky enough to march in the Vanguard 50th Alumni Corps, and yeah, I'm so glad I did. And to be with the A Corps and play clowns and feel the emotion among the kids that are actually there marching and all the alumni that were present. It's just an incredible feeling, and it's something that binds us all together over these 53 years. It's wonderful.
When you heard when they sent that out saying they were going to get together for the 50th anniversary, what it meant with your mind, Joey, since you the guy was crisscrossing early in the 70s to the 80s anyhow, what was that like?
So I had missed the earlier. They had a couple of other corps, and I had missed that opportunity completely. And because I'm working hard and I'm growing a family and I'm doing all the things that you're supposed to be doing, and I looked at my wife and she says, "You got to do this." So it was a big time commitment. There's a little bit of cash involved too, but I'm so glad I did it. I'm so glad I did it because it was fun to go back and relive the memories, right, and feel like you're 18 again. But I think the best part about it was, like I say, meeting all these other Vanguard people that had been part of the same thing that I had been part of over the years, and making all these new friends and feeling like just you're part of a huge, wonderful family.
Vinnie, what is it like not to be able to go do that when you want to go do that? What's it feeling like to miss it? I'll tell you my story. I was riding a bike. I ride a bike, and I was riding 17 to 20 miles a day to try to get in shape for this reunion. I had marched in the previous one in 2002 in Madison, and the drums were on stands. But the closer I got to the date, because I had signed up for it, the closer I had a place to stay and everything, the closer I came to it. My wife said, "Vin, you're not going to be able to stand on a field all day with a 38-inch bass drum. It's just not happening. Not at 60 years old. It ain't happening." And I thought about it, and she was right. But I would have loved to do it. Like I said, I was training for it. I was riding my bike over 50 miles a week to try to make it. But I was there. I definitely couldn't have missed it. I saw Joey on the field and everybody else. and all my roommates, and it was fantastic.
You know what's funny about that is you just mentioned in Madison. Was it '02? Is that when that was?
Yes.
Because I was there for that. And the reason I remember that, because I know you had someone from every year there. And then I was talking to, I think, the contra player in the bar right across the street from the stadium.
Yeah.
Buying me drinks. I don't know. I can't remember what his name was, but he was a contra player. He was buying me drinks. I think he was trying to pick me up too. But it was one of those that was just funny. And I was like, oh my God, I'm having a drink with one of the Vanguard alumni, and he's buying me a drink. And then I'm like, I think he's trying to pick me up too. It was hilarious. But it was like such an honor. I'm just going with it, you know. But I remember that. It was really good to see that in Madison out of all places. Because it's not the same thing in Indianapolis. It's not the same thing in a dome. It's just not. Now it's hard to do it because of one, climate. Two, also, Vinnie, what you talked about, I didn't think about it until you just said that. You're thinking that you're still a kid and you can run around on a field with a bass drum and well, you don't have to do the timpanis anymore, but reality hits like we aren't kids anymore.
Right.
Really do have to get in some kind of shape now.
Exactly.
And
the camps,
I didn't think of that until you just said that, and that's really true.
And the camps were mandatory.
The final thing when you just said, I can't absolutely not do it, even though I'm in shape because I'm older.
Yeah, well, it's that and the instrument I played. You know, I would have been in the bass drum line, and you know, at 60, carting around a bass drum for 10 hours a day for camps is tough. It's tough. It had to be tough, you know.
It was tough when we were younger. It's tougher.
Oh yeah. Just ask my back.
So Joey, I was thinking about this. You hear stories of. I love when people online, Facebook on Drum Corps Planet, or marching in the 70s or even late 60s, 70s, and 80s, when they were talking about now they have back problems. And I was like thinking, I was a small kid in the surface, so the timpani, I had the small timpani. I think it was the 23-inch, I think it was. And I'm marching in a parade in New London. It's the month of September, or I think it was Labor Day, or something after Labor Day, some holiday that we had. And I just remember I'm marching with the leg strap, and we didn't have braces. Surfers didn't have enough monies to have the braces, so we had to have straps. And
right.
Hell on us. So my mom, I just remember, I'm looking off to this, and she's walking me because everybody thought I was going to pass out. I'm like, I'm just happy to have my timpani. And then we're getting closer, and it's getting heavier and heavier the closer you got. And then and everybody came over to me and hugged me. They thought I was going to pass out. I'm like, I wasn't going to pass out. I'm okay. And thinking about it afterwards, I'm like thinking, maybe I looked really hard. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you think about those things of all the hours that we spent with that equipment on, when they had straps and then when they went to braces. So was it hard for you guys? Because I never marched with the braces. When we went to braces, was that hard for you guys after using straps for all those years?
For me, much easier. 100% easier. In '79, we wore straps on the bass drums under our uniforms, and just the hooks would come out underneath the epaulets on the shoulders. And I kind of got jealous because the whole rest of the drum line, the snare line, the quads, they all had these fiberglass harnesses, and I had never seen them before. And I said to myself, well, geez, that would be great to have a harness for a bass drum. So after work, I would go to the Corps yard and work with Mr. Romo, and I came up with a harness for the bass drums, and we used them in '80, and I think in '81 they still used them, and it was much easier to have it stationary and up against your body, where your whole body was, the weight was distributed against your whole torso versus just your shoulders. Made things a lot easier.
Joey, do you remember in the mid-'70s, if you were playing mallets back then, if you would have had the straps at that point, right before you went to the harness? What was that like?
Yes, yeah, we had the straps coming over the back and onto these posts on the end of the xylophone. I played xylo, and it made it hard to reach, because the strap would slip off and stuff. But then coming into Santa Clara, we had these beautiful instruments. Deegan had made us these I think they were custom. They were prototypes, marching marimba with the carriers, and we had the fiberglass vests that were made by Hadley Lovell, I believe his name is.
Right.
Great guy, and he would come down and be on tour with us because he was so into making these things just the way we needed, and so they became very customized. And on top of that, the Mallet players had a reputation for spending a lot of time inside the truck during rehearsal taking breaks. So my back's actually in pretty good shape, Brian.
What's funny about that? We had a guy. It was a '74 show. He was going into. We had the straps. He was going into his mallet box, and he bent the wrong way, and all of his. Remember the ticks back then?
Sure.
Yeah.
Just fell out. So tick for each drop. If you can imagine that in one of the shows.
Yeah.
And I think they kicked his ass after the show, but they weren't happy. They talked about it for years.
I don't know how you feel about it, Joe and Brian, but drum corps nowadays, as far as bass drums and timpanis, I see the timpani player nowadays, but I can't hear him. And it seems like when the timpanis were on the field in a marching line, they projected a lot better. I've gone to shows up until last year, until we don't have it no more. And I could see the timpani player, but I can't find him. I can't.
You can't hear him. I've noticed that too, because I think of the last good timpani line, marching timpani was Phantom Regiment, and I think they were playing Spartacus the entire season. It was definitely 80, 81, and they were really good. But I always remembered the timpani sound is what made it, especially during Vanguard 74, 75 drum solos. That sound is, you can still hear those timpanis. You can't hear them now. Because concert timpanis are made, in my mind, I think they're made differently. You just can't hear them.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's a shame because in 2008, I was front and center for Phantom when they won Spartacus. I was right behind the drum major, and I was right in front of the timpani player, and I'm looking at him, and I'm seeing what he's playing. He's playing some fantastic stuff, but I still can't hear him. I'm only 10 feet away from him.
Yeah.
So I kind of wish they'd bring back marching timpanis. I really liked.
I wish they would too, just to see what it was like to hold them and carry them.
Well, yeah. With the they could make them out of carbon fiber, make them a lot lighter now or something. But I would love to see them come back on the field. They were awesome.
Well, Joey, here's the other thing on that. It would be those things. You hear little kids saying they used to carry those things, and I look like, well, yes, they used to carry those things. They used to get triple toms. Remember those big triple tom drums they used to have?
Oh, 3 bass drums. 3 bass drums attached to each other. Yeah.
It's interesting.
I carried a 2-octave marimba around for 4 years, and now the other kids they got to push those big concert instruments. Don't get me wrong; it's everybody's got their burdens there, but it sure beats having to carry it around.
Yeah.
If you guys hadn't eventually gone to Vanguard, who corps would you have marched with and why?
Say that again.
If you had your choice, if you guys hadn't marched with Vanguard, what course would you have marched with and why?
Go ahead, Joe.
Oh my gosh, that's so hard. A lot of my friends went to Bayonne. A lot of my friends went to Garfield. A lot of my friends went to 7. I was a big Madison fan. When I applied to college, I applied to the University of Santa Clara and the University of Wisconsin in Madison. Luckily, both of them rejected me because that's not the right reason to go to school. So you can march in drum corps all summer.
Joey, you know why I'm laughing? Because that's how I decided where I was going to live.
Right.
I was going to go to Madison to be close to Madison. I was going to move to Santa Clara to be close to Vanguard, but I didn't want to go to school there. I just wanted to be close to
I swear my college essay was, I want to come to your school so I can march in your drum corps. Oh, well.
That was funny. So yeah, because here's what from the Surfers, the lead sopranos, Clarence Johnson went to Madison, so he was the lead sopranos for 2 years. So it was 77, 78, and then most of our drummers, our 3 snare drummers, were were Lancer's band drum line.
Yeah.
6 through 79. I mean, yeah, 79. We had 3 of them, and then half our horn line went to Lancers. You know, so that's why those years good. Everybody was coming from the Surfers.
Right. I'd have to say my second core, it would have been a tie between the Kilties and the 27 Lancers.
Don't tell me you wanted to wear the kilts like I wanted to wear the kilts.
No.
Joey, I actually went to Scotland to get my real kilt, not only the Lancers and the Kilties, but also because of Rowdy Piper. In the Winter Wrestling. I go, and I told Rowdy, and I also told Samuel Jackson, I go, Sam, I got a real kilt for a black guy, but it's really but I went to Glasgow, Scotland to go get my kilt. And then Sam Jackson goes, I got my kilt, but Sam, my kilt is better than yours. But yeah, I always wanted to wear a kilt because of the Kilties, and when Lancers wore the kilt, I just wanted to do that. So I never got a chance to do that stuff, so I had to live vicariously through all things like that.
The thing is, back in the day when I started drum corps, everybody had that cadet look, especially here on the East Coast. There wasn't too many corps that didn't look different colors, but the Shako with the plume, and they all kind of looked the same, but they were different colors. And the thing that grabbed me when I was a kid was the corps that looked kind of what they sounded like. The 27 Lancers, they looked different. The Kilties, they looked different. The Troopers, they looked different. Even the Cavaliers back then, they weren't wearing what they wear now. They were still that cadet style, silky shirt with the cross badge and all that, cross strap. And the corps that stood out to me the most were the corps their identity kind of matched what they look like.
Yeah, and I mean, ultimately, I think there was something really special about Santa Clara. The way the corps moved on and off the field, the way they acted on and off the field, it was something that just drew me right in, and I really wanted to find out if it was as good on the inside as it was from the outside. And I got to tell you, it was better. And I'm so glad that we did what we did when we did it.
Yeah. I always said to myself, I didn't want to be old like I am now and look back and say, damn it, I should have done it. I should have done it. And I always said since the first time I decided I wanted to be to march, that if I had the chance, I was going to do it. So I'm glad that I did it as well.
You guys did do it, and I'm glad you did do it. My hat goes off to you guys. Last question for you guys. Joey, what was it like when they announced the winners in 1981 in Montreal? What was that feeling like?
So I just got the same chills that I got that night when you asked me that question. It's what a good feeling. What it's like to work hard for something that you really, really want. I won't say it was relief, because it really wasn't. But certainly it was sheer joy. We worked hard to be at the top of that hill for that one moment in time, and it still feels really good when I think about it. So yeah, it's just everything that you work for, everything that you sweat for, that you pray for, that you fight for, all comes together, and you're just so proud and so thankful, and grateful for, because it's all the people around you. It's not just you. It's everybody coming together. The stars have to align just right. And so it's just an incredible feeling that, I'm so glad I got to feel that.
Yeah.
And Joey, give your social media links so people want to reach out to you.
So social media links. I'm on Facebook. It's Joe Gaudett. I'm on Facebook. And just I've got an old school email, jgaudett@earthlink.net. Hook me up.
I noticed that. And Vinnie, what was your favorite feeling of marching with Vanguard, and where might that have been?
Favorite feeling, making the corps. Making the corps. After, all the practices and all the other corps I had been in from this, like I said, 72, and all the sweat and the long parades, marching with the timpani, I finally made it to the place where I wanted to end up. And that, to me, just every moment, I would say, was gratifying for me. The thing I take away the most is that I got a chance to be a member of a Fred Sanford drumline, and he was an idol of mine growing up. And the fact that the trophy is named after Fred is very special to me. It's like being a math major and going to school at Yale, and Einstein's your teacher.
Joey,
one of my favorite memories of marching with Vinnie was being on retreat in Birmingham in 1979, and the three Connecticut boys standing right next to each other at retreat and winning drums that night. And I remember, being able to give you a hug, and what a great feeling it was. Just how far we came, a couple of kids from Connecticut. It was awesome.
Exactly.
Hey, do you guys have a picture of that? Anybody take a picture, do you know?
I don't have one.
Yeah, I've got very few pictures of 79. I got a couple of 80 and some better ones later on, but not a lot.
I don't have any pictures. Joey's more photogenic than me. I had a big drum in front of my face. It's very hard to find me. It's very hard to find that I even existed in the corps.
But Vinnie, you did. You did, because the sound is there. Because I was following you guys. That's why. Whether I saw you at CYO or whether it was Marion, Ohio, even in Madison, I didn't go to Birmingham because I was still a black kid, and there was weird things going in there in Alabama, so I couldn't go to that one. Plus, my parents wouldn't have let me go by myself, and I was like, I'm going. But that one, I was wary of going. But yeah, so my hat goes off to you guys, and I want to thank Joey, and I want to thank Vinnie. Guys, when they march Santa Clara Vanguard, but the course that they marched before that, it's an honor. And so, with Movie Reviews and More, I want to thank everybody. Please give her a chance and look out to them, go on and become a friend, say hi to them, because it's what they did after they marched out of the corps, what they did to go on into regular life, which is important, which is set the standards. And I think that's really, really important. So for that, this is Brian Sebastian, Movie Reviews and More, WomenOnTV.tv, the Worldwide TV Network, and IT247 out of Franklin, Tennessee. And if you see someone without a smile, please give them one of yours, because the world needs it today.